Yeah, let's do White Castle. We'll definitely have a bunch more with all of us next time around too.
Now I just want $40 worth of White Castle.
Oh man.
Go ahead.
So good.
Oh man. So first and foremost, we have a White Castle designer. Is it Isra?
I think it's Isra C.
I believe
and
Isra C.
Shei S.
Yeah. Artist Joan Guardiet. And then we got publisher James and Devere, as we kind of have spoken about before earlier today. Really just to design some great stuff. I am a big fan, I'll note, going into this very different game of Red Cathedral. So I came into this game thinking to myself, hey, I think I might like this.
Okay. See, I haven't played Red Cathedral yet.
Yeah.
So
Neither have I.
This was my first.
But again, this is a very different game. So I stressed it up front. All of our games are very different. So you want to talk a little bit, Ryan, about the mechanics of this one, because there's really 3 core areas that you're placing the work. But I want to just from the look and feel of it, first and foremost, just from table presence, man, it jumps off the table. If you look at this, you've got on the left-hand side, you can see the way that the dice are set up. You're actually rolling the dice at setup and putting them in order from least to largest die on those bridges, which is consequential to the game, but also looks really cool.
Yeah, so those dice are your workers.
Yeah.
And when you're taking these dice, you're taking either from the leftmost or rightmost spot of either the red, the black, or the white dice, and you're placing them out onto the dice spots out there. You carry out the actions based on where you've placed, and everything is all the spaces are completely randomized in the beginning.
Yes.
So there's completely random cards, what die is going to go where, what benefits you're going to get, what benefits you'll get if you go to the bottom action, what benefits will you get for the top right. It is variety to the extreme.
Yeah, and the iconography is pretty clear once you get it down. I feel like once you get that, one round in, you start to say, oh yeah, I got it. Yeah. In terms of your first play. And you're also going to be able to have things change throughout the game, because as you start to go into the castle, you're going to start to be able to see new tiles come out as you're moving your characters, your meeples up the board.
Yeah.
And as you want to get higher and higher to the top of that white castle. And at the same time, on that right-hand side, you've got another area where you also can get a multiplier factor happening. So now you've got
based on the people in the castle.
Right. So you're trying to get people in the castle, but you also are thinking about the multiplier side and getting as many people over there as possible. But at the same time, we're thinking about the actions in the places we're going to. So we got to take the right actions. We've got to, and it has a concept that I really like in it that is in many of my favorite games, including Scythe, where I'm trying to think of how much can I get done on one turn?
Yeah.
How can I be as efficient as possible?
Sure.
And it does that really well. All with dice as a huge key component that doesn't feel as much like luck. Where often when dice come in, yes, there's some luck of a dice roll, but it feels so strategic the entire time for me.
Well, because you're rolling them all at the beginning, you know what's out there, right? And you can, having that decision to take from left to right was really like dictated a lot of what was going to happen on the next person's turn.
Yeah,
in this game for sure, especially a few rounds in, where you start to see where some of the points were getting added up more than others. And then there's also different actions at the locations, right? You put your person on the bridge here to do X, Y, and Z at the bottom. I enjoyed this. This was just heavy enough for me.
Yeah.
Right, where one step over takes a little bit away from me.
Yeah.
And I'm comparing it to the Rats of Wistar game, right? So similar kind of feel. That was the next level. That was a little too much.
Right.
This was the sweet spot, in my opinion.
I'll tell you this part too with the dice. I like that the dice aren't tied to the players. The workers, as your dice, are in the general pool.
Right.
Yes.
So everyone has it. These workers don't belong to anyone. Right. You're just going to be placing them out. And what's really interesting is whatever dice are left over at the end of the round, if they're neighboring any of the player pieces on that board, they get to do that ability again. So there's this hate draft in there.
Yep.
And not only that, another thing I like is when you take the lower value on there, you get to do a lantern ability, and the lantern ability goes onto your personal player board, and you could have been maxing out, which in our first game, I maxed out like my lantern ability as much as possible.
Oh,
So
God, yeah.
Focused on that as much as possible to be hitting. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a ton of moving parts in this game. Part of the game is for sure finding what moving parts work best for you, or what is working best for other players to kind of negate them from doing that.
Right.
And my worry when I found out about how random this is, the AP's got to be through the roof, and it wasn't.
No, it's not.
It wasn't at all. So it was a very delicate balance. I feel like that must have gone into this.
And I know you've played. Well, by the way, I do want to. I see. To Board Game Bourbon. Yeah. Welcome.
Oh, yeah, welcome to Call Aboard.
Welcome to Call Aboard. Just want to give you a shout out. Here every week, so every other week for Call Aboard. Everything's live though. But to the point, what you're talking about, I just want to say, I really liked this at every level I played it, and I think 3 might be a sweet spot.
It's the only player count we haven't done.
And it's the only player because I liked it at 2.
Yeah.
4 maybe a little long, but I still liked it. I think 3 because more spaces available. The spaces available with the gameplay of that 3. I feel like 3 is going to be really good. But I'll tell you, every number I played of that, just fantastic experience for me. Yeah. I don't really have a complaint on the experience at all. Like I said, 4 maybe a little longer than I would have liked, but not anything.
Not to the point where it was painful.
No, nothing painful or anything like that. It was just, maybe it's move.
No, this game has an elegance about it.
Yes.
That, and I don't really use that word that often to describe board games, but Castles of Burgundy to me is a very elegant game. Mm-hmm. There's something about it that just works, and I had a similar feeling playing this. So for me, this is an 8.
Yeah. Tyler, by the way, brought up the solo. And I've played it solo a couple times. The solo AI is very straightforward. It kind of walks you through. It's difficult. It is difficult to win.
Yeah. Is it still variety of setup, like depending on?
Yeah, everything's still variety. It's like it's just like the AI just controls like the.
And even though I have not played this solo, I've watched at least 3 or 4 people playing this solo, and it looked like a huge challenge.
I think I wouldn't get this just for solo.
Okay.
There is a lot of setup in here, and there's better solo experiences out there.
Sure.
Yeah. I do like it a lot of 2 players though. I feel like 2 players was a very solid thing. 4 players, it went a little too long. It did wear out its welcome, but playing it at 2, I really like the balance there.
Yeah.
It's because you really are only going to have 9 actions the entire game.
Yeah.
And finding the way to combo them as much as possible is critical.
That's the thing. Earlier, we're talking about games being tight. This is tight.
Yeah.
Every action matters. I never felt like I was out of it, but yeah, if you mess up 2-3 turns in a row, you could be out of it. But I don't think you're going to go for what you talked about, the AP of like, oh, I don't know which one it is. It's not like it's necessarily blatantly obvious, but you've got a choice or 2 that could work based on what you want to go for.
But I do like the heavy interaction in this one. I definitely prefer Euros or just any board game in general with heavy interaction. And the interaction is getting through the roof a little bit on this one. I am going to give this like an 8-9. Like I really, really, really enjoyed it. And honestly, the best part about it is how cute and small the box is, and it's $40.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's great.
And I'm close to you on this one. I was 8.7.
Okay.
I really like this one a lot. I believe very much I'm going to really like it at 3. And if that happens, I could see it going up and hitting the 9.0. But right now 8.7. Solid game. Just well designed and a ton of fun. And to your point, I don't think it's too much for some people who maybe don't want to go too heavy,
Right.
I feel like this hits a sweet spot.
Yeah.
So
that was The White Castle.
and it's a 3.0, 3.01 according to BGG. What is Rats of Wistar according to? I'm just wondering what BGG puts to that.